From all of us at HTLA Radio 1 New York, happy holidays!
This program is intended for mature audiences only. If you have any homicidal or suicidal feelings, please consult a doctor before listening to this program.
The following program is not meant for those under the age of 18. There's explicit and adult content. Please enjoy Host Guy Shay, Rage Live.
I would like to say welcome to Rage Live with your host, Guy Shay, this time. But, this particular episode, I don't know if I can actually welcome anybody because I am so pissed off. I mean, I am enraged. And the reason I'm enraged is because of this insanity I'm seeing going on New York City and some of the dumbasses, in my opinion, actually fact, it's math, like Al Sharpton, the President of the United States, that nutbag mayor of New York City. This is ridiculous. And you know what? I'm blaming this on white people because this is a black-white issue. At first it was not, but now it is. And it's the latest moron, the latest savage that killed these police officers. I mean, by the way, kill one of ours, I believe the statement he had, and we're going to take two of yours. And then he turns around and kills a Hispanic cop and a Asian cop. Americans are not. The whole thing is this. And it's math, and I'm going to prove it's math. And I hate to do this in a way because there's always in a situation where you talk black and white these days, because of this PC, this politically correct mentality, people have decided that they're going to think reality, but somehow the translation gets lost between their brain and their mouth. And this is white people's fault. Because nobody's saying what the facts are here. The majority of black people in the U.S. from urban areas are dangerous savages. That's what it is. I'm beginning to think maybe even the same species. And by the way, in the Constitution, it doesn't say anywhere that all species are created equally. If you're going to act like a savage, and that's what this is, crime numbers back it up. And you know what? You're going to, black people are being profiled. Come on. Why are black people being profiled if in fact they are? Because they commit more crime. Fact. Math. Black on black crime is the highest. I'm talking about fatalities. Black people, black men killing other black men. Usually drugs involved. How does that have anything to do with being oppressed? I believe there are probably more white people who are poverty-stricken in the U.S., living in crappy-ass home situations way under the poverty line, yet you don't see the violent crime. You don't see the burning. You don't see a desire to justify raping, pillaging, and killing. This isn't peaceful protest. They show New York City with a group of black savages walking down the street saying, "We want cops dead." By the way, that's not a peaceful protest. You should be run over. Get out of the street. Now, this isn't about equality anymore. This is about a minority group taking advantage of white politically correct people not saying what the truth is. It's the math. How it became like that, I don't know. But that's the fact. That's the equation. And the sum of the equation is tolerated. Inevitably, it stops. And I wish black men, black youth, would understand they are setting themselves up for a tremendous failure, a complete fall, not just from society's grace, but if you think the prisons are full, you're wrong. There'll be more prisons, and the word rehabilitate will no longer be available. You are there to be punished. Law enforcement is there to enforce laws. Killing cops, there's no justification. And that 400-pound man, the criminal who was choked out, he didn't die because he was choked out. He died because he was a fat guy breaking the law who wouldn't stay on the ground, as he was ordered to obey and do so. The cops were enforcing the law. I don't think the cop wanted all this grief, just like in Ferguson. You see the advantage being taken. This is not about fairness. This is not about equality. This is about a small group of people. And I like what former Mayor Giuliani said on CNN. He said, look, the president is instigating. He didn't use the word instigating. He said perpetuating was the quote. But I guarantee you, my word, my adjective, my verb is the president is instigating this group of small criminals, these savages, to commit crimes. And Giuliano's parallel to this was there's a road with 2% of the people on it. There's another road with 98%. The president's focusing on the 2% road, but that's not the mainstream of black people. This is a small group of black youth, probably the same ones doing that pick 'em out, knock 'em out thing, felony, attempted murder, attempted manslaughter, robbing and thieving. This is a protest against rules. That's what this amounts to. This group of people want no rules. That's what they want. They want to be able to do whatever they want to do when they want to do it. They want complete anarchy. And then they turn around, those people, the same group bitching and having these illegal protests in New York because the mayor is a moron in New York City right now. He's a complete imbecile. And by the way, as soon as you get the police union against you, you can bet your ass there's no re-election. You can forget it. And if you're going to go to the Senate, forget it. Nationally, you just killed yourself. And President Obama just destroyed what was left of the Democratic Party. Hillary, forget it. There's no sense in running. It doesn't matter. You could put a sad clown, Jewish female black lady with Asian roots who's missing her legs up as a Democrat. You're not going to get any sympathy. Obama's literally destroyed. He's the worst president since Carter. And that's pretty bad. Carter giving away Panama and having all the hillbillies in the White House drinking beer. But this guy's worse. He's actually committing crimes against the country. Now, I said, you know what? At the beginning of this, when he got elected, I said, there's a perfect opportunity. This is going to go two ways with the Obama administration. A, he's going to represent black people like they've never represented before, even though he's half white or Asian, who knows, Muslim. Or B, he's going to reinforce a stereotype. There's another lazy black man getting him a paycheck in the White House. And there it is. Affordable health care. Yes, if you qualify for affordable health care, you can't afford to use it. Think about it. Well, you're poor enough to have it, but you're not poor enough for everything to be free. So you're going to need some money to use it. Wait a minute. The reason you qualified for it because you were poor. Well, where in the hell are you going to get the money from to use it? This is insane. And there's the apathy again kicking in. People allowing this, and CNN and Fox and the rest of these morons in mainstream media perpetuating it. Asking the dumbest questions. What do you think this is, a black issue? No, this is a criminal issue. This is an issue. There is no justification for shooting two cops. Didn't even see it coming, sitting in their squad car. And remember, this clown, this moron, this criminal, and thank God he's no longer on earth, in my opinion, to kill anybody else, shot his girlfriend just a couple hours before he killed the cops. But he did call the mom of his girlfriend and apologize for it. So it's okay. Because we see that now. As long as you say, I'm sorry, you get a mulligan. Now, if you don't have rage about this, you are a fool or an imbecile. And I guarantee you 99.9% of the population, maybe other than someone who is mentally insane or just pure stupid, agrees with this. Middle America. It's time to start saying anything. And I think since we have so many Hispanics in our country now, maybe we want to learn what no mas means. No more. We're done. Criminals, you don't get rights to do whatever you want. You go to jail or you get shot and you're dead. Law enforcement enforce the law. Judges make sure the law is followed through in punishment, not rehabilitation. There's no rehabilitating a species that's dangerous. What are you going to rehabilitate? What are you going to do? Let him loose? And this guy that shot the two cops, he'd already been in jail, 17 times? Spent, 3-4 years in prison for various violent crimes? Now the justification is he was black and the white man made him do all this, made him shoot his girlfriend, made him steal, made him shoplift, made him kill cops. The people asking for cops to be killed with their nonviolent protests. I don't know how you come up with that in New York City and why the mayor isn't having the police take them down, do their thing. It is unexcusable. This guy should quit. Do everyone a favor, pack your bag, get out, say, have a nice day. I don't want my last check. I suck at being mayor. And the president of the United States, I can't believe your legacy is going to be the first half-black man in the White House has no goddamn common sense, period. Worst president ever in the history of the U.S. So there you go. The rest of the normal black people in this country can thank him. This is why you won't see another black president for another 1,000 years in this country. And the Democratic Party, the jackass, is absolutely appropriate at this point for your logo. This is ridiculous. What you've done is you've opened the door for the biggest nutbag in the GOP. Even Rick Perry, with his cowboy boots, not being able to speak clear English on TV, has a better chance now than anybody the Democrats could come up with. Hell, it could be, what's his name? The independent, the nutbag. You know, the rich guy, Trump. At this point, Trump could be president over Obama. And I think on these polls nationally where you're seeing that he has a 30% approval rate, I think that's being pretty generous. I think it's probably about 2%. And that 2% is probably the same people out there demanding cops be killed because they're black. Wait a minute. What? You're black, so you should be able to kill cops and rob and pillage. You're savages. And savages are not the same species as human beings. It's not a black-white issue. You're using your color as a justification to commit crime. And you're not making other black people like you, the normal ones, mainstream America. No, what you're doing is you're giving it a black eye. I think there's probably more normal black people in this country pissed off about these group of renegade savages than there are white people, because, you know, the stereotype, typical white person's going, yep, that's what I expect. And black people are going, good grief. These criminals don't represent me. Are you kidding me? It's got to stop. The tolerance for this is unexcusable. And once again, Obama, you make things worse. Why don't you go ahead and represent the mainstream, which is most Americans, not the 2% of criminals and savages out shooting cops and asking for cops to be killed. And don't have a silly, sarcastic, that snarky tone of voice you have. It doesn't make you look educated. It makes you look like a moron with no common sense. There's no way to justify this and then somehow spin this around. Well, the cops need to be more friendly to a black person. What? It's law enforcement. If you're a criminal, you belong in jail. Does it matter what color you are, really? Oh, wait, I'm black. I shouldn't be here. I robbed a bank, but I'm black. You know, you're a cop. Somehow you're oppressing me. That's insane. Listen to if you get a chance to hear what Giuliano said on CNN, please watch that. He explained it very simply and very bluntly. And, of course, the morons. I'm surprised they didn't have Don Lemon there singing, singing something like Jimmy Crack Corn or something, because that guy couldn't be more stupid. Makes no sense. This isn't white people wanting to eliminate the black race. These are criminals who happen to be black, who are using it as a disguise because they're not black. They're a different species. These people who are committing and enhancing the ability for more people to commit these crimes are not black. They're not human. They're not the same species. And they have no rights. And by the way, when you demand the death of a cop in the middle of a street, that is not your right anywhere, constitutionally or otherwise, to protest. You don't have that right. You're a criminal. And it just keeps going. Well, we're going to let them walk around. We're going to let them tie up traffic because they're black, and we don't want to look politically bad. Get these savages off the streets. Black and white taxpayers pay you to do that. New York City, get your shit together. The rotten apple can't get any more rotten. I want to share some opinions that you can find on YouTube and so forth. and I want to share because it not just comes from a white perspective and it not just comes from a black perspective. It comes from a justification perspective, for instance.
And they're monitoring our people to try to prevent the one person from coming up with the one idea. And the one idea is how we are going to exterminate white people, because that, in my estimation, is the only conclusion I have come to. We have to exterminate white people off of the face of the planet to solve this problem.
And last night we brought you the story of former North Carolina State University professor Kamau Kambin, who made those comments at a forum on media coverage of Hurricane Katrina last year. It has caused so much outrage that thought we'd try and bring you a closer look tonight. Joining us now from the new Black Panther Party is Minister Hashim Nzinga is with us. You going to support this?
I'm going to say this. It's a shame that you go back to 2005 and pull up our professor and these words and then bring on the grandson of slaves and ask me, am I going to support this?
Are you?
I feel that you should have played that this man was a professor at 2 colleges. In 1999, he got a Citizen of the Year award.
I don't want his resume. I don't care about his resume. He just talked about exterminating. The only conclusion I can draw is that we need to exterminate white people. I ask you a simple yes or no question. Do you support this garbage? Yes or no?
Well, here I am on your show right now. You set me up for extermination. You always bring us on for the FBI profile for later we can be exterminated. White people set people up for exterminating and carry it out.
Mr. Nzinga, this is a very simple question. I'm sure you can understand.
No, it's not a simple question. We got to ask ourselves, why would a professor at North Carolina State, why would a man who delivers his own children, why would a man that's married to the president of black psychologists come out and make a statement like this against you? You got to ask yourself this question. You got to ask yourself seriously, why would a professor use this language?
Why we ponder the intellectual curiosity of the professor, I have a very simple question for you, and I'd like an answer. Our audience would like an answer. He's talking about exterminating. That means murdering and killing white people.
Okay, we would like an answer from your audience. Why did the young man get shot 50 times and exterminated in New York, and Attorney Malibu Shabazz and the new Black Panther Party has to go to New York on Sunday to do rallies in the streets? I mean, in Atlanta, an 88-year-old sister and queen of ours have been killed.
I know. We're not talking about that today. Look, I can only suppose
we're talking about extermination of people.
I can only suppose that you, by your inability to even take as simple and basic a stand, that extermination, talking about racial extermination being wrong, is that you support him. So the real question our audience has to ask is, it's kind of scary.
No, what we got to ask
these really twisted views as you do.
What your audience has to ask, your white audience has to ask, is what makes a professor talk like this before the world? What do you think makes him do that? What do you think does?
What makes him do this? Because when you study exterminating white people,
when you study the British, they tried to exterminate every black person on earth.
So that this is payback.
When you study,
was that wrong?
Hitler tried to exterminate people. When you go to the people who really carry these duties out, is always a person of your color.
Yeah, you're having a hard time having a conversation here.
I'm not having a hard time.
This is very simple. If
we're talking about white people go around the world exterminating people, black people just talk about it. That's what we're talking about.
If extermination is wrong, then when we have people talk about it...
Why don't you denounce it? Why don't you denounce Sean Bell's killing?
I'll do it. Extermination is wrong. It's morally wrong. What this professor said is morally wrong. Will you say the same thing?
I won't say it. I will study it. And I will come to the conclusion that after he studied you... exterminating and helping exterminate people all over the world.
Hold on, Mr. Nzinga. I don't want to exterminate Hannity, but let me ask you this. He's no longer a professor in the first place. He's not teaching anymore there. He's a former professor. And you got to wonder why he's a former professor there, not a current professor. Since you refused to answer Sean's question, a very simple question, do you agree with what he said? You've refused to repudiate it. What would you like to see, Mr. Nzinga? Let me finish the question. Happen to white people. You want them exterminated or not? What is your view?
I have to say what Malcolm X said. You can't put a man on a stove or an oven and then get mad at what he says. White people always put black people on the hot seat, then get mad at their comments. This man is a professor. This man has studied the world.
There's nothing to do with what he said.
And evidently, he's finding across the world that white people, everywhere they show up, they're exterminating the people there and dominant everywhere they go.
Isn't this kind of language, when you talk about exterminating any particular race, no matter who says it, no matter what you have on your resume?
No, I'm talking about history and who's really doing the exterminating. That's why right now the new Black Panther Party all over the country is in the streets because black men are being shot down by police departments.
That's a red herring. We're not talking about that. We're not denying that that's the case.
Are y'all fighting out against Sean Bell killing?
You keep
Are you fighting out against the 88-year grandmother of ours that was killed in Atlanta? The 14 people in my county, DeKalb County, being shot down by police. We're being exterminated. This is just talk he's doing, but your government is supporting extermination of the black race.
Are you a United States citizen?
Sir?
Are you a United States citizen?
Yes, I am.
So it's your government too, whether you like it or not.
It's not my government because I can't control the government of the United States. Nobody can control George Bush.
All right, you're way off topic here. It's a very simple premise that we brought you on to discuss.
Well, you bring me on to set us up for something later.
Well, you didn't have to come on, sir. You agreed to our invitation to come on to talk about
people.
this.
My people need to worry about being exterminated because that's a reality in the black America.
You knew why you were coming on our show.
Black America being exterminated is a reality.
You're coming on with
what you're doing is sensationalism, but we're going to funerals.
Sir, you had an opportunity to come on the show to address this. It was a very simple issue. You're coming on with your own agenda. If you didn't feel that you were going to get a proper hearing... You're
bringing me on with your agenda, and I'm coming on to support the salvation and leadership of Malik Zulu Shabazz. And we're right now trying to keep black people all around the country from being exterminated by your police department.
When you talk about extermination of any race, that's bigotry. That's pure, simple bigotry.
Stop financing terrorism. Join Terror Free Energy Coalition. Visit www.terrorfreeoil.org.
As you can see, the Black Panther Party has not progressed since the 1960s. It's all about militant action. This is what it amounts to, and it is not representing the majority of the black race. It is also amplifying the negatives and pointing out a racial issue that does not exist. This amounts to criminals wanting to not have any responsibility for breaking the law. This amounts to people who commit crimes who just so happen to be black, using that as a justification, pointing the finger at white Americans saying, look, it's your fault that I'm stealing this, and I should not have any responsibility for my criminal actions. And if you do, I'm going to say the cops are bad and against me. Once again, like 90% of the criminals in prison who say they're stereotyped, yet if you ask them the relevant question, did you commit the crime? The answer will be yes, if they were being honest. And then perhaps that gives the cops the mindset that the stereotype fits the crime. Does it make sense? The following was a panel discussion on CNN showing how society has veered away from being honest, enjoying humor, and respecting each other, and digressed into this PC mentality. The problem with it is, and I'm going to give an example that was on a CNN panel discussion where they referenced a 1970 Saturday Night skit all the way to Trayvon Martin's trial, and a black woman who was there for Trayvon Martin's defense couldn't understand how racism's a two-sided demon. Let me go ahead and provide that for you, and you get to decide, because that's what Middle America does, or should do.
This classic Saturday Night Live sketch ran unbleeped in 1975.
Jungle Bunny.
Peck of wood. Birdhead. Cracker.
But it probably wouldn't run today. Why? Have we lost our sense of humor?
What was so profound about that sketch wasn't just that they got away with using, let's say, the N-word and a lot of other racial slurs, but what that sketch really demonstrated was that certain slurs there are simply no trump cards for, and the N-word is one of them.
All over words, Paula Deen is losing her TV job and millions in endorsement money.
Inappropriate, hurtful language is totally unacceptable.
And the prosecution in the George Zimmerman murder trial could lose credibility, all because of the words a witness says Martin used to describe the man who shot him.
Creepy ass cracker?
Yes.
So it was racial, but it was Trayvon Martin put race in this.
No.
You don't think that's a racial comment?
No.
You don't think that creepy ass cracker is a racial comment?
No.
Is there really a difference between witness Rachel Gentile and Paula Dean's racism denials?
The difference is a difference of about 47 years. You know, an
anti-racism activist Tim Wise.
I think to expect a 19-year-old to know the history of a term like cracker, as opposed to a 66-year-old knowing the history of the N-word is just a ridiculous comparison, obviously.
And did Martin bring race into it by using the term?
The problem with that argument is that, first of all, it's comparing, to be on point with this case, it's like comparing Skittles and a handgun.
And we thought America was progressing. I think what we have is a white group of people who speak out and use this political correctness as a way to gain popularity with what they think the masses are actually thinking. And I think they're wrong, because I think middle America actually does not think in PC terms. They just don't evolve to the point where they want to speak out loud. Because once again, perhaps white people, because they don't seem to act as aggressively as a whole as the young urban black people seem to do, as we see on national TV over and over again, as we see in our prison systems, as we see by the math. So is white America in danger by simply being apathetic?
St. Louis, and in fact, a large percentage of the general population claim that there's an epidemic of white on black crime, of white cops shooting unarmed black teens. Is that, in fact, happening? Well, according to the FBI, there were 408,217 robberies in 2009. That's about 1,100 a day, or in round numbers, about once a minute, 24 hours a day. That means 1,000 times a day, the police are called, 1,000 times a day, arrests are made, or in general terms, the events leading up to the shots being fired in Ferguson, Missouri, happen about 1,000 times per day. So, if there's this epidemic of white policemen executing innocent black males, why do we only hear about a case like this once every few years or so? And why do most of these cases like this one seem to end up with extenuating circumstances? And why do the few cases that don't have extenuating circumstances end up with the offending officers in jail? If this is an epidemic, where's the epidemic? 30,000 commercial flights land safely each day in America, and they don't make the news either. So, is there an epidemic of racial violence loose in America today? There is. According to the National Crime Victimization Survey, in 2010, 62,593 blacks were the victims of white violence. During that same year, 320,082 whites were the victims of black violence. That's 5 times as many violent attacks, but that number is misleading, since the black and white populations are not the same size. When 38 million black Americans commit 5 times as many violent crimes on 197 million whites as they receive, what you discover is that black perpetrators violently assault white victims 25 times more frequently. And when it comes to a specific kind of violent crime, aggravated assault, the number of black on white crimes is 200 times higher than white on black crimes. Oh, there's an epidemic of racial violence in America. All right. Reporter and author Colin Flaherty has taken a cold, clear-eyed view of the statistics that don't make the news because they're suppressed by the news. He reports, for example, again in 2010, the National Crime Victimization Survey reported approximately 13,000 black-on-white rapes and 39,000 black-on-white robberies, both violent crimes. The statistics show that the number of white-on-black rapes and violent robberies were so small that they had to be rounded to the nearest whole number, and that whole number was 0.
Unfortunately, the math does not lie. It's not about color. It's not about stereotyping. It's not about oppression. It's about justification by a small group of people that happen to be black and young from urban areas that seem to be more aggressive and commit crimes without any conscience. Tolerance goes so far. For this to work and people to be truly, truly equal, you can't attack each other and use your color as an excuse or a justification. This is Guy Shea, Rage Live. You've got it locked into New York's best talk, HTLA Radio 1, New York.